The man accused of setting the deadly Palisades Fire is in court this morning. 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderneck was arrested in Florida on suspicion of maliciously starting what's considered to be one of the most destructive fires in California history.
Former prosecutor, now managing partner at Sweet James, Bobby Taghavi, joins us live now to talk about what's next in the justice process. And I think a lot of people do have questions. You've got this guy now in Florida. He apparently is, accused of starting the fire here in California. How does all of this play out and work?
So right now, what the U.S. attorneys have done is they've filed a criminal complaint, and that criminal complaint is essentially a placeholder to be able to extradite the defendant here to California. And then once they bring him back to California, that's really when the court proceedings really kick off and start.
Yeah, we saw U.S. Attorney Palisades yesterday talk about some of the charges he's facing now, could possibly face. What do you foresee charges that someone like this could face?
So right now he's facing essentially arson charges for destruction of public federal property by fire. But what I anticipate is a grand jury is going to indict him on most likely felony murder, giving false information to a federal officer, and probably some environmental crimes. But I do anticipate from the 5 to 20 years he's looking at to look at a life prison sentence or even the death penalty, depending on what charges the U.S. attorney brings up.
Charge.
It's a federal charge and it's a felony murder charge. So I think death penalty is on the table.
Wow.
So you see that potentially happening. Is there anything also with the amount of damage that was caused? Can the charges go up based on just that number alone? There's
enhancements usually with the amount, but really once you're looking at a felony murder charge, you're going to be getting the max sentence. So,
what do you think about the evidence available in this case? We heard a lot of pieces of that in the press conference yesterday, him using ChatGPT to create images and stuff like that. Can something like that hold up in court? Because I guess any of us could make an image like that and say we were just making it for fun.
I think it's all really circumstantial evidence to really be able to get in someone's head, right? What someone's intent is really based on circumstantial evidence, because most people don't say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, and they don't put a sign up on their heads. It's the actions you take, whether it's a search, whether it's a ChatGPT prompt, and I think there's going to be issues about corporate responsibility, right? ChatGPT or even Uber. We know he was an Uber driver, and Uber doesn't give, mental health benefits to its drivers, and I think a lot of those types of conversations are going to be had about what ChatGPT or Uber, what responsibility do they have in these?
So this could have a ripple effect across many different industries.
I believe it will. I believe it will, because I think we have to look to see beyond what we could do as a community to keep ourselves safe. What can a company like Uber do to keep us safe and keep the community safe? And I think it's going to have a ripple effect.
What does justice look like in a case like this, where you do have so much destruction, thousands of properties destroyed, you have people who were killed in these fires? Is there justice, especially for the victims and people affected?
The 12 lives that were lost, the communities that were destroyed, it's going to be very difficult to rebuild that or to make up for that. But I do think it will give closure at least to some of the victims, knowing that there is a responsible party that is going to be criminally held accountable.
Is there an argument for him where he says, I may have initially started this fire, but the fire department's really to blame here because it sat underground for 6 days, and I didn't know that these catastrophic winds were going to come up a few days later?
Yeah, that's really going to be his defense. His defense is going to be approximate causation, right? I wasn't the cause of it. And under the law, it really has to be, was it foreseeable? Is it reasonably foreseeable that if you start a fire, and if it doesn't fully die down, that it could pick back up because of the environmental elements, right? The heat, the winds, and as a former prosecutor, I believe it is reasonably foreseeable that if you start a fire somewhere, a week later it'll pop back up. And then the fire department, they have pretty broad immunity, the city and the fire department, so I don't think that argument's really going to last.
Well, the fun thing about court to me is you've got 12 human beings, and human beings are always so unpredictable when it comes to the jury. So we'll see what happens.
There's a lot to watch in this case. Bobby Taghavi, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.